Today is talking about keyframes. So I have down here one of the title cards from Premiere Pro's graphics template. If I play it, you notice that some shapes, some colors, they come in and then they fade out. And what I want you to do as I play it this next time is I want you to look over here on the right side. And what you'll notice is that at the very top, we have which clip we have selected. And then we have down here different effects that have been placed on the text and the images that are here. We have little dots. And what I want you to notice is that as the timeline passes the dots, it changes what you can see on the program monitor. So it starts to pop in, and you'll notice that now we've got shapes coming in and text coming in. And then when we get here to these dots, they stop. And then here we have presents that comes in. And then it all stays normal on screen for a second. And then when it gets here, you'll notice that it starts to get blurry again. Blurry, 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 and then fade to black. So the way that this all works is through something called keyframes. So keyframes are little places on the timeline that you use to tell Premiere Pro to execute one effect or another. And what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to use keyframes. We're going to learn how to edit keyframes, and we're going to learn how to make them look nice and natural. Okay, I have now a stock image of a group of people, and you can see that it is very small within my video. So one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and I'm going to go down to fit to frame or scale to frame size, and that's going to make it bigger there. Okay, what I want to do is I want to show you how you can use some keyframes. So let's say that we wanted to start off on one of these people's faces and then zoom out so that we can see the whole entire group. So what we would do is we would find which effect we wanted to use. And what we would do is we would start to make some adjustments to our keyframes. So one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to move our anchor point, and I'm going to move our anchor point to the face of one of the people. That's where we are going to zoom in. And what we are going to do is we are going to click on this little stopwatch. And what that's going to do is that is going to tell Premiere Pro when to start a certain effect. So I want to start zoomed in. So I'm going to zoom in on her. It's going to be very poor quality at first. All right, and so there it is. And then I'm going to get to the end. And I'm going to just type 100. And it's going to bring me back there. So when I first clicked on the stopwatch, it made an initial keyframe. And then when I made a change, it made another keyframe. And what we can do is we can see how this looks. We'll play, and we'll notice that it takes a bit of time to get there. So one thing that you should know is that the closer keyframes are together, the quicker their effect is going to occur. So let's say I move that keyframe quicker, and you'll notice that it zoomed in, or actually zoomed out much quicker that way. Let's move it out just a little bit more, and let me show you one quick thing that you can do to make your transitions and your effects look a little more natural. And if you right click on the keyframe, you'll notice that it gives you some options to make some changes. If you click ease in, you'll notice that the keyframe has changed. Now it looks like a little hourglass. And we'll do the same thing here, except this time we're going to choose ease out. So we want to ease out of keyframe that we're leaving and ease into a keyframe that we are going to. So what this changes here are these curves. And these curves dictate how fast things are and when they take place. There are ways of adjusting these curves individually that will change how keyframes work. I don't recommend doing that at this point. It gets to be pretty complicated and pretty messy once you start doing that. So just ease in, ease out is the way to go. So what it does is that it slowly moves into the transition, and then it speeds the transition through, and then by the time it gets to the end, it slowly gets into the next transition there. All right, so that is one keyframe that you can make. There are multiple keyframes that you can make here. Let's add another effect onto this, and let's say that after the keyframes, after the effects take fully, let's add a graphic that's going to come in. So we know how to make graphics, right? We go over here to T. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to make this, and we're going to make a couple of changes to this because you can't really see that very well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that. I'm going to change this here. I think that what we can do though is we can add a shape behind it. And what we're going to do is we are going to move that shape so that the text is on top of it. All right, and so you'll notice that everything is listed over here. So I was able to just move that over. And let's change a couple of things here. I want to make the fill a different color. Let's make it, I don't know, lightish blue. So just a very basic graphic with a shape behind it. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change this. Let's say the first thing that I want to do is I want the blue shape to fly in, and then I want the white text to fly in on top of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my shape first, and I'm going to find the position keyframes here. And I'm going to click that there so it sets my first keyframe. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get it to move off screen there, and then I'm going to get it to move in right about here. Just gonna move it back up. Move it all the way over there. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the text, but I'm going to start that about here. So I'm going to go up to the text now. I'm going to find the position. I'm going to move that off. So my keyframe there. And then when that gets there, I'm going to move that back. And then I'm going to leave it all up there for just a second. And then I'm going to move it off, but I'm going to have it do it very quickly. And that follow it off. Okay, we can watch how this works. So it comes in. And there wasn't really a whole lot of time for it to be there together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another keyframe here. I'm going to copy this one, paste it here, and then I'm going to do the same thing for my shape down here. I'm going to copy this one, paste it right here. So it should stop and then move off. There we go. And when we move everything together, it moves together like that. And so you can stack graphics on top of graphics. I think I want everyone is here to move off quicker. So I'm going to actually do that there. See how that looks. Other things that you can do with keyframes is that you can change the opacity and the rotation. So I'll show you a couple of those things here. We will go back to this, and we're just going to copy this whole entire graphic effect, and we are going to delete the shape. We just want the text this time. So here's the text, and this time instead of it sliding from one side to the other, we're going to have it fly in and change opacity as it goes. Let's start with a new text. Let's put this in the center. And let's start by making this very large. Let's change our anchor point too, to right in the middle. There, that's better. So let's make it really big so that you can't even see it. Goes up to 4,000. Okay, you can still see it. So let's reduce the opacity of this to 0. And what we're going to do is we are going to move in about halfway. And then we are going to change the opacity. And change the scale. Let's see how that looks. One last thing I want to show you is how to make the text rotate as it comes in. So what we can do is we can come back to this effect here. And we're going to have it zoom in. Zero opacity. And we're going to add a rotation. And then we'll get it to come on in. To here. And we will reset the rotation. We'll delete these last two keyframes. So the speed of the rotation depends on how many rotations that you gave it. I think I said 8 full rotations. Yeah, 8 full rotations before the end there. So it's flying in, it's getting smaller, it's becoming more opaque, and it is spinning at the same time.